throwaway for obvious reasons. I, female 34, need some perspective on a situation with my sister, female 31, that's gotten completely out of hand. This is probably going to be super long, so sorry in advance. Some background. My sister Valerie and I have always had this weird competitive relationship growing up. Not like sports rivalry competitive, more like she's always been my parents' favorite and somehow I'm still competing. Anyone with a golden child sibling probably knows what I mean. She's 3 years younger, but has always been the successful one according to my parents. She was valedictorian, went to an amazing college, the one I turned down a scholarship for, which my parents basically didn't speak to me for weeks over. And now she's this big marketing executive making serious money. Meanwhile, I became a high school English teacher because I like teaching. And yeah, the summers off are nice with a kid. And married my husband David, male, 36, right after college, which my parents definitely thought was me throwing away my potential or whatever. We've been married 8 years now and have a 5-year-old daughter, Lily. We're not rich or anything, but we're comfortable. David has a solid IT job, we have a modest house, normal stuff. So around Thanksgiving, Valerie and her husband, Nathan, male, 32, announced they were expecting their first baby. My parents were ecstatic. They've been hounding Valerie about grandkids for years, even though they already have Lily. But whatever, I was genuinely happy for her. I even got her this cute pregnancy journal and a bunch of books we loved as kids. I remember my mom actually seemed surprised I was being so supportive, which kind of hurt, to be honest. Then, about 3 months ago, I found out I was pregnant again. It was definitely a surprise. David and I had talked about maybe having another kid in a year or two, but we weren't actively trying. After the initial shock wore off, we were both really happy about it. But I was honestly nervous about telling my family, especially Valerie, because she was getting so much attention for her pregnancy. I waited until I was starting to show, around 2 months ago, before saying anything. We were at my parents' house for dinner, and I figured it would be a good time to share the news. When I told everyone, my mom and dad seemed happy enough, though not nearly as excited as they were for Valerie. Surprise, surprise. But Valerie just froze. Her face literally just went blank. She barely mumbled, "Congratulations," and then like 20 minutes later said she wasn't feeling well and left early. I figured maybe she was just having a rough pregnancy day or something. But then a few days later, she called me crying, saying I was stealing her thunder and always needing to one-up her. And how could I do this to her when this was supposed to be her special time? I was shocked and tried to explain that this pregnancy wasn't planned, but she literally refused to believe me. She kept saying things like, "You just couldn't stand that I was getting all the attention for once, and you always do this." I was like, do what exactly? Have a child. I was honestly hurt and confused. I've been nothing but supportive of her pregnancy, and here she was acting like I got pregnant at her somehow. Over the next few weeks, I noticed my parents started getting weird too. They stopped calling as much, canceled plans last minute, seemed cold at family gatherings. It was exactly like when I didn't go to Valerie's college, despite getting that scholarship. This punishment by distance thing they do. Then last week, everything blew up. I was talking to my dad about Lily's future education. She's obsessed with dinosaurs right now. And I was joking about her becoming a paleontologist and how expensive that would be. He got this weird look on his face, and I asked him about the college fund statements I hadn't received in a while. He got all shifty and said they'd made some adjustments to the distribution. I asked my dad what he meant by reallocated and where the money went. He looked uncomfortable and said they thought it would be best to make adjustments for equal opportunities. When I pressed him about how much money, he admitted they moved about 70% to a new account for Valerie's baby. I was totally shocked and asked why they would do that without talking to me first. He claimed they wanted to ensure equal opportunities for all grandchildren. When I pointed out that taking from my kids to give to Valerie's wasn't creating equality, he got defensive and told me my second pregnancy wasn't great planning on my part, while Valerie and Nathan had planned their family responsibly. When I asked if Valerie had asked them to do this, he avoided eye contact and just said it was best for everyone. I left feeling completely betrayed. Valerie and Nathan both make way more money than David and I do. They have this massive house in the suburbs and take fancy vacations twice a year, while we're comfortable but definitely not rich. and my parents are acting like we're the irresponsible ones. I don't even care about the money itself. Okay, that's not entirely true. Of course, I care about my kids' futures. But I'm devastated by how unfair this is. It feels like Valerie has convinced my parents that my second pregnancy is some kind of personal attack on her, and they're punishing my children for it. I'm seriously considering confronting Valerie directly. The thing is, there's something I know about her that could change everything. Something she told me about a year ago during this rare moment where we were actually getting along and she had a bit too much wine. I promised I wouldn't tell anyone, but that was before she started this campaign against me and my kids. Would I be the asshole if I used this information to protect my children's future? I never thought I'd be the type of person to expose someone's secret, especially my sister's. But I also never thought my parents would literally take money promised to my daughter to give to my sister's child either. Now for the first update. So after reading through all your comments, I decided to try talking to my parents directly about the college fund situation. A lot of you suggested this was a miscommunication that could be cleared up with a calm conversation. Yeah, that didn't go great. I went over to their house like 2 weeks ago on a Sunday afternoon. I even brought my mom's favorite banana bread. I thought maybe some comfort food would help soften the mood. Looking back, that was probably kind of naive. So I'm trying to stay calm while explaining why I was upset about the college fund situation. My dad kept avoiding eye contact, and my mom just sat there with this weird expression. Then I found out Valerie told them I deliberately got pregnant to steal her thunder. She also told them David and I are completely financially irresponsible and that we're constantly asking her for loans and bailouts. This is completely untrue. We have never asked Valerie for money. Not once. We're not rich, but we're stable. We have emergency savings. We budget. David got a promotion last year. I was so shocked I couldn't even speak at first. I lost my temper at that point. I asked why they would believe these lies from Valerie instead of just asking us if any of it was true. My mom got defensive and said Valerie has always been more responsible with money. And my dad said I chose to have another child knowing my sister was having her first. I didn't choose to get pregnant right now. It just happened. And even if I had, since when is having a baby some kind of competition? I reminded them that they promised these college funds would be for all grandchildren equally. They made a huge deal about it when Lily was born, saying all their grandchildren would have the same opportunities. But they were completely on Valerie's side. My mom said Valerie needs this security for her family right now, as if my family doesn't need security too. I was so upset I left before I said something I'd really regret. And just to be super clear, I don't want to come between my parents and Valerie. I've never wanted to damage their relationship. I just want my kids to be treated fairly. After that disaster, I decided to confront Valerie directly. I suggested meeting at a quiet cafe near her office midweek when we both had time off. I picked a public place because I figured she wouldn't make a scene there. Spoiler alert, I was wrong about that. I started by asking how she's feeling and congratulating her on the pregnancy, trying to be normal even though I was furious inside. She immediately got cold and asked why I wanted to meet. I tried to calmly bring up the college fund situation, and she got super defensive right away, saying it's our parents' money and they can do whatever they want with it. When I asked why she told them I got pregnant on purpose to steal her attention, she just shrugged and asked if I didn't. I explained again that this pregnancy wasn't planned, that David and I were happy about it, but definitely surprised. She rolled her eyes and said, "Sure, whatever you say." When I directly asked if she would help restore the college funds, she actually smirked and admitted to manipulating our parents. She said I always get everything first. First marriage, first child, and this was her time to shine. I reminded her we're talking about my children's education, and she said my kids don't deserve it as much as her baby will. At that point, I was seeing red. So I mentioned that I knew about her situation from last year. Her face went completely pale before she got angry and accused me of threatening her. Then she stormed out of the cafe. Over the next few hours, she sent me a crazy barrage of texts accusing me of being jealous of her. She threatened to turn the entire family against me if I spread lies about her. Over the next few weeks, I tried everything to resolve this peacefully. I suggested family counseling. Valerie refused. I brought David to talk to my parents. They canceled right before. I even wrote a long, heartfelt letter to my parents explaining our financial situation and how important these college funds are for Lily and the new baby. No response. About a year ago, there was this weekend where Valerie and I were actually getting along really well. We were helping our parents clean out our childhood home, and we found old notes and photos from when we were kids. We were actually talking like sisters. She'd had several glasses of wine and told me that shortly after marrying Nathan, she had a brief affair with her ex-boyfriend. I was shocked, but tried to be supportive. Then, when she announced her pregnancy, she texted me freaking out because she wasn't sure about the paternity. She said she thought it was Nathan's, but there was a chance it might be Kevin's, her ex. I encouraged her to be honest with Nathan, but she got super angry and insisted she was going to just assume it was Nathan's and never tell him about the affair. I kept screenshots of these text conversations because something about the whole situation made me uncomfortable enough to want proof. So after trying everything else and realizing we're talking about $80,000 in college funds for my kids, I decided to expose Valerie's secret. I arranged a family meeting at my parents' house and insisted Nathan be there too, saying we needed to resolve the college fund situation once and for all. Everyone was already there when David and I arrived. Valerie looked nervous, kept shooting warning glances at me. My parents started defending their decision about the college funds again. I asked if their decision was based on Valerie's claim that I got pregnant to steal her attention. Valerie immediately jumped in saying we didn't need to discuss her theories. I asked if everyone would still feel the same way if they knew Valerie had been keeping some pretty big secrets. Nathan asked what I was talking about, and Valerie tried to leave. I looked at Nathan and said I was sorry, but he deserved to know the truth. And Valerie started screaming at me to stop. I showed Nathan my phone with the text messages about Valerie's affair and her concerns about the baby's paternity. His face just went blank. My parents looked completely shocked and asked Valerie if this was true. She burst into tears, not really confirming or denying anything, which told everyone everything they needed to know. Nathan walked out without saying a word. My parents just sat there in shock. Valerie was hysterical, crying and screaming at me for betraying her. David basically had to pull me out of there because things were getting so intense. So that's where things stand right now. I have mixed feelings about all of this. On one hand, I feel glad the truth is out. On the other hand, I feel guilty about the timing. Valerie is 8 months pregnant. But then again, she was the one who decided to lie about the paternity and manipulate our parents into taking my kids' college funds. So play stupid games, win stupid prizes, I guess. I haven't heard from my parents since that night. Valerie has sent me about 100 texts ranging from hateful to begging me to help her fix things with Nathan. I've ignored most of them because I honestly don't know what to say. I'll update again once the dust settles a bit more. Thanks for listening. Edit. Some people are asking if I have any regrets about exposing Valerie's secret. Honestly, I'm conflicted. I never wanted to hurt my sister, but she was literally taking educational opportunities away from my children while lying to everyone about me. I tried every other approach I could think of first. What would you have done? For those asking about Nathan, no, I don't know where he is or what he's planning to do. My guess is he's staying with friends or family while he processes everything. And no, I don't know if he's going to demand a paternity test, but I assume he probably will. Yes, I realize the timing of this thing was awful with Valerie being 8 months pregnant. I've thought about that a lot, but she kept pushing and pushing, taking money from my kids, lying about me to our family. What was I supposed to do? Wait until after the baby was born and the college funds were completely gone. Would that have been better? To everyone saying I should have told Nathan privately instead of in front of everyone, you're probably right. That would have been more considerate. In the moment, I was just so angry about the whole situation and wanted everyone to see the truth at once. Not my finest hour. Now for the second update. Okay, so I know it's been a while since my last update, like 3 weeks, and I'm sorry about that. I've been putting off writing this because, honestly, the fallout has been so much worse than I expected. First, quick update about me, I guess. I'm about 5 months along now with the pregnancy. Despite all this family stress, which my doctor keeps telling me to avoid, the baby is doing fine. Regular heartbeat and all that. I've been trying to focus on staying healthy for the baby's sake, even though this whole situation is just, Yeah, so where to even begin? After that absolute disaster of a family meeting where I showed everyone the texts about Valerie's affair and paternity concerns, Nathan left my parents' house immediately that night. Didn't say a word to anyone, just walked out. I found out later he went straight to the Marriott downtown because my cousin Jamie works there and texted me asking why Nathan looked so upset while checking in. I felt awful because seeing everything fall apart hit me harder than I expected. Anyway, the very next morning, Nathan had already contacted a lawyer and demanded a paternity test. He also went to their house while Valerie was staying with our parents and moved out most of his personal stuff. I heard this from my aunt who lives on their street and saw him loading his car. Just 3 days later, he filed for divorce. Didn't even wait to see the results of the paternity test or anything. My uncle said Nathan told his family that the potential paternity wasn't even the main issue. It was the fact that she would lie about something so huge and try to pass off potentially another man's child as his. The betrayal and lying is what he couldn't forgive. Actually, I kind of wonder if Nathan still has feelings for Valerie despite everything, because he seemed more upset about the lying than the actual cheating. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this. But here's where things got even more insane. While my parents were dealing with all this mess about Valerie's affair, they discovered something else shocking about her. So my parents have these trust funds set up for both of us that we can access when we turn 40. But there's this provision that we can get advances for financial necessities, like if there's an emergency or whatever. I've never touched mine because we've been fortunate enough to handle our own finances without needing it. Well, guess what? Valerie has been claiming financial hardship to get repeated advances on hers for years, like significant amounts, all while showing off a perfect lifestyle on social media with fancy vacations and designer everything. She was literally getting money from our parents by claiming she and Nathan were struggling, while posting Instagram stories from the Amalfi Coast and buying $800 shoes. When my parents found out about this, I think they asked to see her financial statements after everything came out. They were furious. This was the final straw for them, so they officially changed their will. They completely removed Valerie's inheritance, which was apparently worth around $800,000, and placed it all in trust for all their grandchildren equally, both my kids and Valerie's baby, and it can only be accessed for education and healthcare expenses, nothing else. And they restored the college funds for Lily and the new baby, plus added extra to make up for the lost investment growth, as my dad put it. I'm not gonna lie, part of me felt vindicated when they told me this. Finally they were seeing Valerie for who she really is. But I also feel guilty because her life is basically falling apart while she's 5 months pregnant, and I can't help feeling partially responsible for the timing of everything. Speaking of Valerie, she's a mess. She's been alternating between sending me these desperate texts begging for help and then these vicious messages blaming me for destroying her life, literally within the same hour sometimes. She'll text, "Please, Emma, I need you." And then 20 minutes later, it's, "You ruined everything." Oh, and the paternity test results came back about a week ago. The baby is actually Nathan's. Plot twist, right? But it doesn't even matter because Nathan is still proceeding with the divorce. He told our uncle he can never trust her again and can never look at her the same way. Valerie is in serious financial trouble now. Nathan froze their joint accounts pending the divorce proceedings, and with the loss of her inheritance that she was apparently counting on, she had to move out of their big house and into this tiny apartment. My Aunt Maggie helped her find the place and had to co-sign the lease because apparently Valerie's credit is terrible. That was news to everyone. She's probably going to have to go back to work pretty much right after giving birth, which is rough, but consequences, I guess. About a week ago, Valerie called me late at night crying. I thought something was wrong with the baby, but she said she was just having a panic attack and couldn't handle being alone. When I offered to come over, she suddenly got angry and started blaming me for ruining her life when she's pregnant and alone. I reminded her that she chose to have the affair, chose to lie about it, and chose to take money from my kids. She accused me of always being jealous of her perfect life and even brought up stuff from when we were kids as evidence. I tried to talk about moving forward and offered to support her during delivery, but she said she'd rather be alone than with someone who hates her. When I tried explaining I don't hate her, she hung up on me. So, yeah, that's where things stand with Valerie. My parents are trying to maintain relationships with both of us, but have basically canceled all family gatherings indefinitely. My dad looks really worn out. My mom goes back and forth between defending their decision to change the will and worrying about Valerie's mental state. I had dinner with my parents last week. They didn't tell Valerie I was coming. They told me they feel partially responsible for enabling Valerie's behavior for years. My mom admitted they always gave Valerie more leeway because she was more sensitive than me growing up. I pointed out that this special treatment created the rivalry between us. My dad agreed they probably favored Valerie without realizing the impact. My mom is worried about Valerie forgiving them for changing the will. I suggested Valerie needs to take responsibility first. And my dad is concerned about Valerie being alone with a newborn. I am too. I offered to help arrange some support for her after the birth, and my mom thanked me for being the stronger daughter, which made me uncomfortable. I don't know where we go from here. My pregnancy is going well despite everything, and the college funds for my kids are secure now, which was the whole point of this mess. But our family is just broken. And while I know Valerie brought this on herself, I can't help wondering if I should have handled things differently. Like, should I have waited until after she gave birth to expose everything? Should I have told Nathan privately instead of in front of everyone? I don't know. But then I remember how she was actively taking educational opportunities away from my children and lying about me to everyone. And I think, no, she needed to be stopped. My parents have finally acknowledged their role in creating this whole dynamic, which is something I never thought would happen. But I'm not sure if this realization came too late to fix anything. I'm still processing whether protecting my children's future was worth completely breaking apart my family. I'm leaving the door open for eventual reconciliation with Valerie, especially for the cousins to have a relationship someday. But I'm done letting her manipulate me or my parents. When I look back, I can see how years of family secrets and favoritism led to this situation. I hope we can all heal someday, but I think it's going to take years, if it happens at all.